it's the same picture. That's like wish.com Vulpix. Arguably, the biggest controversy in gaming right now is the new release of the new game called Palworld, a game where you go around catching monsters, or pals as they're known in Palworld, and you can use them to battle, you can collect them all, or you can even use them to help build and navigate and grow your base. It's kind of a combination between Pokemon, Ark, Rust, and other open world survival games. Now, the big controversy with Palworld is what I had just mentioned. It has a very eerie similarity to Pokemon. There's been a lot of drama back and forth to the point where people have been arguing if this game is a blatant ripoff of Pokemon, and we're here today to kind of look through it and hopefully decide for ourselves. Now, games copying each other in terms of mechanics is not something new or unique to Palworld. A lot of BRs are copies of each other with their base gameplay. A lot of them switch things up or add unique things here and there, like Fortnite, for example, has its building. But it's not uncommon for other games to copy successful games. The thing here with Palworld is the designs are extremely similar to the point where you can't really just call it up to a coincidence, as some of these pals look like the spitting image of their Pokemon counterparts. Goodbye. Okay, that is 100%. Is it Leafeon? No, that's the Eevee evolution. What's the starter grass Pokemon? Because that's it. That's it right there. Yeah, I'm looking at you. That is the starter evolved grass Pokemon. I don't know the name. You even catch them the same way. You throw a Pal Sphere and it will shake like 2 or 3 times, kind of like Pokeballs do. Except this time there's a little sphere that shows up that tells you the percentage of catching the Pal, and it goes up with each shake until you hopefully catch it by the 3rd shake. I wonder where they got the idea to throw the ball at the creature and then have it shake a few times to see if you caught it. It's very original, very unique. The big controversy with all this design, though, is the rumored speculation of AI. Now, I have been trying to research this myself. I have been trying to look through all the information that has come out so far, and things are still developing on Palworld. So as of recording this, I have not been able to find flat out proof that AI was used to kind of mimic these designs. Everything has just been kind of speculation. I'm not saying they haven't used it. I'm just saying I have not found concrete proof that they did. There is information or a post going around on Twitter that the CEO and the company has used AI in the past. So a lot of people are basing their decision on that information. But again, there's no, at least not that I have found, concrete proof that proves Palworld was designed with AI in mind. As you're seeing images on the screen here comparing Palworld's pals to Pokemon's Pokemon, you can't deny that these designs are eerily similar. A lot of them almost look like color palette swaps. Others look like they may have taken an aspect of one Pokemon, an aspect of another Pokemon, and then an aspect of a 3rd Pokemon and kind of merged them together here. So the controversy isn't exactly unwarranted. One of the recent discoveries that I have found earlier today before I even started recording this was that a lot of the models, not just like the designs, but the models of the pals themselves, seem to have been taken almost exactly from Pokemon. I am not a designer or a developer, so I personally am not sure if like kind of 3D models like this are kind of widely available, or maybe just kind of a base thing that maybe even Pokemon has used. If I'm being honest, I kind of doubt that's what's happening, but it is within the realm of possibility, as this is something I am not an expert on. That's literally Hoot Hoot. The gameplay itself is overall different, and honestly is something I kind of wish Pokemon would do for itself. Pokemon, I've been a lifelong fan of Pokemon. I used to play Pokemon Red and Blue and eventually Gold and Silver, going to and from elementary school every single day, as my bus ride to school and from school to go home was about 45 minutes to an hour each way. So I had a lot of time on my hands, so I played Pokemon literally every day in the late 90s. But even playing Scarlet and Violet today, they've changed some things, and they've started to branch into the open world areas and kind of create bigger environments to go around and collect Pokemon. But anyone who has played Scarlet and Violet on the Switch can tell you firsthand that game does not run well. It is very frustrating, often getting what feels like 10, 15 frames per second playing Pokemon. I myself have said I would have invested so much more time into Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, even if it was 30 frames. I wish it was 60, but even if it was 30 frames, it would be better. But it would get so jarring with its dropping down to 10 frames per second that it kind of was hard on the eyes and eventually started to hurt my head playing it. So I only play it in very short intervals here and there. And the new DLC was not better. It was not better. Hopefully we can get an improvement on the Switch too, that's rumored to be coming out later this year. But in terms of the actual gameplay of Pokemon, they haven't really increased or developed brand new ideas. Pokemon is one of those things that no matter what they release, it sells in the millions. So I feel Game Freak has just been kind of coasting along, knowing that they don't really have any big competition for their games and that they're going to sell well no matter what. But something like Palworld coming along that has had huge success, I believe selling over 3 million copies in the first 40 hours of its release, is showing that there is a hunger for new and improved games where you do get to catch all the pals, but there is more to do in the game. Using the pals to create your base has been a lot of fun. Having them do different jobs and have different pals being better at specific jobs allows you to create a lot of variety and build teams that you go off and journey into the world in, but also create teams designed specifically for building and improving your base. Okay, there's a Mew in here. Did you hear that? Mew? Hello? Where's Mewtwo at? On top of that, it's an MMO like game. So you can create a server and invite your friends in and play in these pal worlds together, collect pals together, build bases with your pals together. It takes a lot of things that people probably want in the Pokemon games and delivers it in a new, very similar style of game, which is why there is so much controversy around this new Palworld game. Did they rip their designs directly from Pokemon, or is it just kind of a little coinky dink? There's also this graphic going around right now from Dragon Quest, which shows that even Pokemon isn't necessarily original with its designs of its own mons, which goes back to the point I was making earlier where it's not really uncommon for games to borrow ideas and concepts from one another, especially when they're proven to be successful and people enjoy them. Aren't those literally the chickens from Legend of Zelda? Is this whole game just based off Nintendo art? So Pokemon isn't necessarily innocent, but Pokemon by far is the biggest franchise out of all this. So you're going to have a lot more people rushing to the defense of Pokemon no matter what you present to its fan base. And again, I say that as a lifelong fan of Pokemon since Pokemon Red and Blue. I don't know if Nintendo or Pokemon is going to end up developing a lawsuit over this, if they can even legally sue over something like this. I wonder if they would have to really prove that maybe the 3D models that we spoke about earlier were directly ripped from the Pokemon models used in maybe the Scarlet Violet or Sword and Shield games, or if Pokemon themselves maybe had just a kind of like a widely available base set that in court would not hold up, that Palworld specifically stole from the Pokemon code itself. And then when you have the rumblings and rumors of AI, I feel like there's a whole new legal hoops to jump through here that no matter what comes from this is going to be, in my opinion, kind of a trendsetter or a course change for the gaming industry going forward. If this turns out all to be completely legal and okay, how quickly are we going to start seeing companies potentially using AI to mimic other successful games and creating their own versions like this, where, hey, you're not getting all those new features and gameplay improvements that you've been wanting in Pokemon? Come play Palworld. Well, you'll have your very similar Pokemon that you know and love, but we have a brand new game, new mechanics for you to enjoy that actually feel like it's a modern game instead of a game like Pokemon that kind of has been stuck in the same pattern for what, 20 plus years now. I'll be shocked if Nintendo doesn't have something to say about it, because I've been pointing it out as we've been playing. There's a lot of similarities, like a lot. Lucario statue, that's what I said, Pumpkin. When I crafted him, like, that's a Lucario statue. And speaking of Pokemon, it's only been a couple days since this game has released, and there is already a mod out that completely changes Palworld into Pokemon. All of the pals have turned into the actual Pokemon that we know, like Pikachu, and even your character that you create at the beginning of Palworld is remodeled and skinned over as Ash Ketchum from the Pokemon show, therefore allowing you to actually just play Pokemon in Palworld. If Nintendo ends up being okay or can't sue over all this other stuff, I can only imagine what their lawyers are cooking up for this Pokemon mod. I don't even use Nintendo music in my videos here on YouTube because I'm always worried Nintendo is going to copyright strike them. I can only imagine the cease and desist letter that the Pokemon lawyers are creating as we speak to send to the modders who have created this Pokemon mod for Palworld. One of the last things I will say here, I've been seeing on Twitter a lot that a lot of people are obviously speaking out for this game, and a lot of people are speaking out against this game. And as always on Twitter, you have the people, the moral police, who are telling you, if you play this game, you're a bad person and I can't support you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, listen, I'm all for the discussion about, you know, is this AI? Was this stolen? That's fine. But one thing I have just never got on board with is kind of the moral policing of Twitter, and like, who says that, even if it was me, who says I get to decide who is a good person or a bad person based on a video game that people play? Video games are meant to be fun, relaxing. It's not a sign of the devil if you play a game that one person doesn't like. You cannot like something, you cannot want to play something. I would support that. If you watching this right now are going, this game feels like a ripoff of Pokemon, I do not want to play or support it. And I will defend you and back you up and say that is legit. That is a valid reason for not wanting to play. And anyone who tells you otherwise, I would say, no, 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 you have the right to feel that way. But we're in this era where people just want to police each other, and, you know, they want to go on Twitter and tell everyone who's a good person and who's a bad person so they can get other people backing them up and making them feel like they're like this hero of the Twitter world, only until they walk outside and realize Twitter, at the end of the day, doesn't matter. It doesn't represent the real world. So again, I'm all for hearing people's opinions, for, against, like, don't like, whatever, all valid. But at the end of the day, if this is something you want to try, I say go for it. I've only played it once so far, but despite the obvious controversies and issues that I have seen and the obvious similarities I've seen to Pokemon, the gameplay itself is pretty fun. I'll leave it with this. People were kind of moral policing last year around the release of that Harry Potter game. I haven't played it myself. I didn't really follow it. Don't really know much about it. But I know people were boycotting it for reasons related to the author of the series. And there was this big boycott going around on Twitter telling people that they couldn't play it, and if they did, they're a bad person and yada, yada, yada. And they were kind of convinced that they were going to tank that game into the ground. And just to echo that Twitter is not a representation of the real world, how well did that boycott end up turning out for Harry Potter? Thanks for watching.